All right, so we're gonna take Alex here, platinum, then we're gonna take him to silver. We gotta get him ready for all the music festival that's coming up.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm gonna show you a close up of the video, or the hair. Look at that. True black Asian hair. Alright, we got some work to do. Want to say anything to your camera before we begin?
I'm pretty excited for this, you know?
Just kind of get it done?
Yeah, let's get it.
So he has level 1, level 2 Asian hair, and I need him to get into platinum. I'm trying to do that in one session, so I definitely need the power behind the lightener. So we're going ahead and using a 30 volume developer. 1-to-1 ratio, 1-to-1.5 ratio with developers, and of course I'm using a little bit of Olaplex to really make sure that the hair stays nice and healthy essentially. I like to start in the back of the haircut, the crown area, because I feel like that's the hardest thing to do. That's my personal preference. I like to get that out of the way as fast as possible. So essentially what we're doing, we're using the hair origin point as the pivotal point. And for the crown section, we're kind of pivoting around that until we get to the apex of the hair. And from there on out, we're going to be taking horizontal sections, applying the lightener and pulling it back. So that way it's out of his face. So one of my personal favorite brushes to use is the Framar brush. It's the Framar Emperor brush to be exact. What I like about this brush is that the brush itself is perpendicular to the handle. What that allows me to do is just better body mechanics. I don't have to lift my arm all the way up or even hold it like a pencil to really paint the lightener onto the hair. Another thing I like about the Framar Emperor brush is that it has a comb on the other side. So what I like to do is apply the lightener, and then afterwards I like to comb it through just to make sure that it's evenly saturated throughout the hair. But one thing I wanted to do with this color is definitely keep some of his natural roots there. I didn't want to take him platinum all the way down to the roots. One major reason for that is that simply lightener on scalp is not very comfortable. It actually burns quite a bit, and I know this from personal experience when I do color on myself and when I take myself platinum, it's not very comfortable. And I feel like with the gradient that goes from the natural level 1, level 2 black to the grain itself, it gives it a softer lived-in look, and I do personally like the rootier look. But I mean, if you wanted to take him all the way platinum, all the way down to roots, you're more than welcome to do that. It's just not my thing, so that's why I'm leaving a little bit of roots untouched with the lightener. So essentially what I'm doing as I get to the top, I'm sandwiching the hair between the brush and my hand. You know, I want to make sure that both the front side and the back side of the section that I'm working with is evenly saturated with the lightener itself. And for me, the only way I can achieve that with especially shorter hair like his is to just sandwich it and just really just kind of slap that on there. So in order to get him platinum one go, we're putting a processing cap on just to incubate the heat and to make the chemical reaction run a little hotter essentially. So it's 30 volume developer once again, and we're really just letting it sit for 2 hours. And I know that some of you out there are going to hate and say you shouldn't leave lightener on for more than 45 minutes. Well, I know some of you are going to say you shouldn't put lightener for 2 hours, and I get that, but his hair is very coarse, very strong, virgin hair. I know it can take a beating without feeling dead. Alright, so this is the hair after it's been processing for 2 hours. I'm going to use my fingers to kind of take some of the lightener off to see what kind of yellow we have, and we see that it's kind of that pale yellow. So one thing I want to point out after doing a quick dry is that demarcation line. You know, yes, the hair is blonde, but where the demarcation line is, I don't know if you can see, but has that little bit of a brownish color. And that's important to me because I have to go and apply a separate darker toner, not as dark as the natural hair, but not as light the color we're going for, to kind of provide that middle ground color. So that way it has a nice gradient blend that we're looking for. So we're just parting the hair down the middle, and we're really just dabbing that root color into his hair. So so that way it's not spreading anywhere. Definitely being clean with your work and being organized with your product is key, because when you're working with your root color and it gets everywhere, then you're gonna have splotches of a darker color on the mid shafts to the ends, which you don't want. So for the crown area, we're actually using a silver color that is slightly lighter than the roots, but still slightly darker than the color that we want to achieve up on top and up on front. And the reason I do that, again, is to kind of contribute to the idea of gradient color in itself. I like color to blend as much as possible, and so I know for the roots and also for the back, I want to create a darker color to almost as if make it seem that this gray color comes out naturally from his hair. You know, I know it's artificial color, but we can make it look as natural as possible, and that's pretty much our job as colorists. So we're just taking horizontal sections again. This really is just a redo of the first step, which is the lightning process. And we're just applying that silver color and just really working it through. I really want to make sure it's nicely saturated, so that way we get even consistent results. So again, putting the color on, combing it through, and reapplying the color on. So we're gonna let that process for 20 minutes. So we just washed it out, did a little bit of Olaplex treatment for about 10 minutes. And look at that, I mean, it's wet, it's a little bit dark, but you can see that gradient's happening. Woo! How did I cut his hair? So for Alex today, we're going to be doing a mid fade, a simple mid fade. He just wants a clean side, but I figured with this long top, I want to build a bit more weight as I get to the corners. So once again, we're just going to start off by creating a guideline. My personal preference is a drop fade. That's how I like to place my fades. So I do a curved line that kind of follows the temples of the head, but then drops down into the occipital bone. It's important when you're setting your guide for the fade that it's even on both sides, because I definitely seen people start a fade and it's completely lopsided, and lo and behold, after the haircut is done, the fade's fucking lopsided. Who would have thought that? So it's important that when you do the guideline, when you create the guideline, make sure it's even first before you move on, because that's going to set yourself up for success more than anything else. And now what I'm doing is I'm opening, closing the lever to really blend that line out before I go any higher. It's really about the light touch. You don't really want to dig in. When you dig in, what ends up happening is that you cut too short, too high, and then your fade has to be even higher. And I mean, what's the point of that? You're creating more work for yourself, or you're really just undoing that work you just created for yourself. And I don't know about you, but that's fucking stupid. One thing to point out, as I'm working, I always like to brush the hairs off. The reason being is that as I'm cutting hair, sometimes the little bristles that get cut off don't fall. They just fall onto the section that you're working, which can oftentimes create dark patches. And that can be confusing because you might think, oh, I did everything right, but why is it dark patch this? So let me go ahead and cut that with a shorter length. But in reality, it's those patches that fall into that section, creating that shadow, and now you cut everything too high because you believe that you have to leave the length. So I always like to brush after I go through a section just to make sure those little hairs are off, so that way I know that I'm always working with the clean canvas and I'm getting the best kind of visual feedback that tells me whether or not I've successfully blended the lines out or not. So after I blended the 0 close to a 0 open, I'm going to go back with my 1 open to create my second guideline. So we're just kind of moving up the head shape, and we're going to continue this pattern until we get to the corner pieces. So once that guideline is set, I'm going to go back with my half. And one thing to keep in mind is that a 1/2 open is the same length as a 1 close. So any length between a 1 open and a 0, to blend that line out, you can use a half to kind of take that weight line out. So once again, soft touch, we're really just trying to get that line out, but we're not trying to go too high with the fade in itself because we still want to keep it a nice mid fade. So now we're just kind of going back with a 1.5 to really kind of cut up to the corner pieces. The corner pieces I like to do a little bit of scissor cutting because I feel like I have more control with long hair with that. But yeah, with the 1.5 open, it's the blending in between the sides, the fading itself to the corner. So now we're going to take the trimmers and we're really going to shave the bottom hairs down. I mean, I would want to keep it. I'm sure he doesn't want to keep it. So I always like to leave this for last. Actually, no, I lie. Sometimes I like to keep this for last. Because for me, personally, it's so satisfying to just kind of shave off all that hair and it exposes the fading itself. I'm like, oh, I'm unraveling Pandora's box. So for me, this is always a satisfying moment. I just get to just indiscriminately just shave off hair. So I mean, let's be honest, that's kind of fun to do, right? Like, you don't have to think, you just cut and cut and cut, and it all comes coming down. So with his hair is very straight, obviously. So what I like to do is really just look at the silhouette. So I'm not looking at it directly, I'm looking parallel to it. I'm looking past the hair, I'm looking at its silhouette, looking at the shape. And I want to construct a nice clean silhouette. So any hairs that I feel like don't belong, I want to kind of round out the corners a little bit without taking the corners in too much. We still wanted to maintain a little bit of weight on the corners, but we don't need hair sticking out everywhere. We want to make it look as tidy as possible. So I'm really just freehanding it and just making sure that the silhouette itself is pristine. This is one cool little trick that I picked up by a barber that was cutting my hair when I was a kid, and something that he did, and I kind of picked it up and never forgot it. So the idea is I'm using my thumb as an anchor. So I'm resting my thumb against his head. I am resting my steel blade of the scissors onto my thumb. And I am cutting as I slide my thumb across his head. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm doing the work of a clipper, but I'm able to fine tune it with the scissors itself. So another quick shot of me doing this technique. The anchor stabilizes and I am literally I'm cutting a line into the hair and just kind of lasering all the hairs that don't belong off. Essentially all the hairs that are sticking out past the line of the scissors, the blade of the scissors, I am taking off. So we're taking off the clips, we're going to work on the top. I'm going to give I'm going to just do a bit of a rough blow dry. Personally for me, I like to cut the top, especially for someone like him where he has a longer top and he wants more texture. I'd rather just do it dry because I can construct the shape, but also deconstruct as I go. But specifically for Alex here, he didn't want a lot off the top. He wanted to keep at the top as long as possible. But from his previous cuts wasn't done that well. His crown wasn't blended in that well. So I knew that I had to cut a bit off the back. But in order for me to do that, I'd rather just kind of do it dry. Especially the crown because it wants to stick up so much. Because he has such straight hair, I just wanted to dry it before I began doing anything. So what I'm essentially doing, I'm taking the texturizing shears. So I just really cut off the back to blend in with the bottom. And the thing with Asian hair, what I found to work best is to keep it disconnected. To keep it more disconnected the further you go forward with the haircut. So the back can be connected, the corner pieces can be connected, but as you move up the haircut towards the front hairline, you want to keep it more and more disconnected. And what texturizing shears are able to do is to soften the weight, but also soften it to the point where you don't see that clear distinction between connected versus disconnected. You're able to create that middle ground with the texturizing shears. So I'm using my SLB Beauty flat iron, and we're really sectioning off the hair, and I'm really just kind of giving him some waves. You know, his hair is fairly straight, very straight, has maybe like the slightest wave, but I wanted to give him more of a curly look. So I'm going back and really just kind of curling it inwards. And what this is gonna do is create some faux texture into the hair, just to kind of give him like a different look. I was thinking, at this point I was thinking, you know what, he got some nice cool funky hair, let's go ahead and give him some curls, give him that K-pop look, something that I really like and I really identify with, me being a Korean male as well. So yeah, we're just gonna give him some curls today. Who says guys can't have curls? Who says guys can't curl their hair? If anyone says that, come fight me. Come fight me, bro. Again, we're just taking some time. Details matter. Take pride in your fucking work. And just, you know, give good hair. Give a shit. Give a shit about your work, you know? Alright, so this is pretty much what the hair looks like before I put product in. So we're gonna go ahead and put some powder play to give it some grit, some texture before I go in with the wax. So you just want to sprinkle it on there. I know I'm using quite a bit, but he got quite a bit of hair too. And I'm just gonna rub it in there. See, look at that. A little bit of powder goes a long way. I didn't even put any wax in this and it's already starting to look so much better. One of my favorite products, Moon Fiber. If you guys have not had a chance to use this, dude, let me tell you, it smells like pineapple, lychee, coconut. It's fucking amazing. Shout out to Edward Zoe. You have made a really, really fucking awesome product, bro. I love your work and I am just happy to be able to use your product. So yeah, Moon Fiber Defining Wax. Good stuff, guys. I'm not sponsored anyway. I just love this product so much. I can't stop raving about it to everyone I see. But yeah, we're just doing a little bit on, and the key is to layer it on. You don't ever want to guesstimate. I say guesstimate because that's what we all do. You know, you wake up, you get out of the shower, you guesstimate how much product your hair might need, and you put it in, and you put way too much, and it feels like someone took a shit in your hair. Everyone understands what I'm talking about, right? So the idea is you want to use a little bit. Put into your hair, and when it's gone, you need a little bit more. Apply a little bit more. And you keep layering it on until you found the right amount where it doesn't feel too heavy in your hair, doesn't feel too sticky, but it's giving you the results that you're looking for. So what I'm doing now, I'm just kind of brushing it through. I'm really just using my fingers to kind of twiddle some pieces. And again, this is just to create more faux texture and to really help separate the hair to make it picture perfect, you know? I'm kind of playing with it. At this point, this is probably one of my favorite things to do in hair after I cut everything and after I styled it and I'm applying products. I get to really nitpick. But you know, what I like to do is kind of educate and like how they can style their hair, teach them, you know, what they can do. He doesn't necessarily have to blow dry, he doesn't necessarily have to straighten, but at least, you know, if he can learn how to use the products properly, essentially, then I think I've done my job. As always, make sure to brush them off. It's not a good feeling when you have hair all over your face, all over your neck, behind your ears. I'll give you a quick look. Bam! Look at that. Gray hair, as I said, cement hair, guys, with a little bit of violet in there. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. Man, I don't know about you, but that is looking awesome. My hope is that you guys got something out of this.
What is this? Damn. Woo. Alright. So we just got finished. What time is it? It's fucking 4 o'clock. What time did we start?
We started at 10.
10? 6 hours. Granted, you know, a little bit of filming, you know, it kind of took away some time, just kind of make sure that I have all the shots and the angles, but man, 6 fucking hours of work. I'm kind of shaking right now. And if you see the table behind me, my station's fucking nice. But how do you feel?
Man, it looks
Look at
incredible.
this shit.
It looks incredible, honestly.
6 hours and then he's aged like, you know, 30 years.
The process, man.
Oh, process is a long time. I told you, right? It sucks. But yeah, thanks for being a good sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, go have fun at E-Forest.
Of course. Thank you.